Hello and welcome to our new video. This is the Ninja Foodi Max Grill and Air Fryer AG 551. We have tested it for you and you'll find out everything you need to know in this video. So just stay tuned. Let's get started with the Ninja AG 551. As always, we'll start with a brief overview of the product in our Features and Technology section. The first value we need to look at is the capacity. In this case, we have 3.8 liters, which is well below the standard market value for air fryers. However, you have to classify this a little. Most appliances state the value for the entire cooking chamber. This is different in this case. Instead, the value refers to the lower tray or the cooking basket, which means that the capacity is stated as slightly smaller. Nevertheless, we would like to put the 4 to 6 portions mentioned by Ninja into perspective. Yes, you can see a total of 6 steaks sizzling away on the packaging. But in reality, I would limit that to 4 portions, simply for reasons of practicality. In terms of performance, Ninja delivers a lot. With 2460 watts, the appliance makes most air fryers on the market look pretty old. However, this does not apply when it comes to presets. Unfortunately, the AG 551 only provides 6 of these predefined programs, which are also quite coarse. Incidentally, the system regulates the preheating itself, just so you don't wonder why we didn't include this point. You can also set the values individually using the integrated touchscreen. Depending on the mode, the temperature can be set between 40 and 240 degrees Celsius. That's pretty generous. Most air fryers can't keep up with this. The measurements of the AG 551 are relatively large at 28 times 38.5 centimeters and a depth of a whopping 41.5 centimeters. We think this is still okay in terms of capacity, but you should measure out in advance whether you can fit it in your kitchen at home. It's a bit of a shame that there are no transportation handles. This is a disadvantage, especially for those who want to put the appliance away after each use. On the other hand, the manufacturer has thought of the mandatory non-slip feet, although only on the 2 feet at the front, but it's still quite neat, giving the appliance a secure stand. The power cable could perhaps be a little longer at around 90 centimeters, but it is sufficient in itself. A special feature of the Ninja AG 551 is the grill function, which has been added to the air fry function. This gives us a 2-in-1 appliance, so to speak. What we think Ninja has done really well is that this combination of functions is also reflected in the range of accessories. First, we have the lower tray as a standard insert for all functions. Then we get a cooking basket for the air fry mode, and if you want to use it as a grill, you have a grill plate and a roasting thermometer. Finally, there's a cleaning brush and a quick start and recipe guide, as well as the mandatory paperwork. By the way, you can find the link to the Ninja Foodi Max Grill and Air Fryer AG 551 below the video in the description. And if the video was helpful, please leave us a like and subscribe to our channel. So much for some general information about the Ninja AG 551. Now let's get down to the essentials, namely our practical test. The first thing we want to look at is how to use the device and how to operate it correctly. So let's go through this together. First of all, place the air fryer on a heat-resistant surface, leaving as much space as possible around the appliance so that the heat can radiate. Then go ahead and clean the appliance once before using it for the first time. You should at least rinse or wipe through the inserts once. Once everything is dry, plug it into the power socket and you're good to go. You press the on button and can now select one of the 6 predefined programs. Once you have done this, you will be asked to set the temperature and time individually using the up and down buttons. Since the presets are quite coarse, as already mentioned, you unfortunately don't have the option of selecting a preset for fries, for example. You have to find the values yourself from the included cooking chart. When it comes to setting the temperature, you have, as already mentioned, a range between 40 and 240 degrees Celsius depending on the preset. You can set the values in 10-degree increments, which in our opinion is a little coarse. We would have preferred 5-degree increments. Compared to other air fryers, the timer can be turned up to a whopping 12 hours. Although this also depends on the preset selected. For example, if you have selected the air fry preset, you can only get up to 1 hour. However, 12 hours is not usually required with this preset. Incidentally, you can also press and hold all these settings to skip through the values more quickly. Once you have selected your settings, press the start button to start the air fryer. It's pretty easy to do, basically. Another advantage of this appliance is that the temperature and time are always visible. This is actually not the case with all appliances. That's all for now. We'll go into the operation of the grill function in our next section. The only important thing for now, and we need to remember this, is the classification of the values from the cooking table. These are basically good and helpful, and you can use them as a guide for the time being. But don't rely on them too much. These are only guidelines. As ingredients can vary in size and shape, there may well be deviations. With this in mind, open the appliance from time to time, take a look at how the food looks and adjust the settings again if necessary. Just remember, these presets are basically only guidelines. Accordingly, we did not rely on the cooking chart too much and preferred to readjust it ourselves if in doubt. And it turns out that on the whole, the cooking results are really good. Fries get crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. You have to be a bit careful that they don't get too dry, and you should shake or turn them well from time to time, especially if the basket is quite full. But basically, you'll get a good and tasty result. And the same applies to chicken nuggets. Then we tried it with some wings. We have a very nice looking result here as well. Everything is cooked through and tastes good. Vegetables are always a problem with these air fryers. The hot air dries them out super quickly, and then they burn very easily. Our tip: things that you normally cook in the pot should stay in the pot. If you want to grill vegetables, for example, you can still do that, of course, but you definitely need to work with some oil. Dehydrating vegetables is also possible. The appliance also has an extra preset for this. But as we already mentioned, if you want to make broccoli with some hollandaise, for example, it's better to make the broccoli in the pot. Baking, on the other hand, works pretty well. We tried it with muffins, and what can we say? They rose well, were firm enough on the outside, and fluffy on the inside. All in all, however, it has to be said that of the many air fryers we have tested so far, none have really failed when it comes to cooking. On the contrary, the results were good to very good for all appliances, and were generally quite close to each other. This was also the case with this Ninja air fryer. The real highlight of these machines is that you can prepare your food in a healthier way. At least that's what the manufacturers diligently advertise, and in the end, it has to be said that it's true. By no longer bathing the food in fat but cooking it with hot air instead, we simply have less fat on the product, and therefore a slightly healthier approach. So we have an appliance here that has a grill function on top of the air fry function. So how does it work? First of all, switching between air fry and grill is quite easy. Simply remove the cooking basket and insert the grill plate, and of course use the grill preset for the products you want to grill. Let's start with a grilled sausage. You can use the enclosed cooking chart as a starting point and if necessary, adjust the values a little. In our case, the sausages turned out really well. We were especially surprised that you can even achieve the typical grilled look and consistency. The taste was also incredibly close. If you can't or don't want to have a grill yourself, this is definitely a great alternative. But that's not all. As the manufacturer heavily advertises the fact that you can also grill steaks to perfection with this thing, we of course didn't miss out on that and got ourselves a rump steak. And in order to test whether everything works as the manufacturer says it does, we followed the instructions in the manual relatively strictly. And this is how it works. First of all, you set the temperature and select the corresponding grill preset. Then select the desired cooking mode, in our case medium, and then simply start the appliance and the preheating phase begins. During this time, we prepared the meat and added the roasting thermometer. When the machine says add food, you can place the meat on the grill plate. Then press the meat down onto the griddle and close the lid. The thermometer remains in the meat throughout the process and measures the internal temperature. The display shows how the temperature inside the meat, the value on the right, approaches the target temperature. In between, the appliance tells you when to turn the steak in order to get a decent sear on both sides. Finally, you get the message "Get Food," which means that the steak is ready. You can say that the steak looks very good on the outside, and there's nothing to complain about on the inside either. The desired cooking state was achieved. At least that's what it looks like when we compare it with the cooking states shown in the instructions. All in all, the grill function really impressed us. Even if you don't know anything about cooking, you should be able to cook a decent steak with this appliance. And as a reminder, you can find the link to the Ninja Foodi Max Grill and Air Fryer AG551 below the video in the description. And if the video was helpful, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. So much for cooking, but what about the handling? Is it even practical to use an air fryer like this? Basically, it depends on the appliance in question. Ninja has a slightly different design to most other appliances on the market. It is rather flat and has a lid that can be opened upwards. But the bottom line is that it actually works quite well. The only major disadvantage from our point of view is that there is no handle or similar for the cooking basket. This means that you have to take the basket out with oven gloves, or use a spoon and stir the food by hand. The AG551 is one of the better appliances in terms of volume at around 58 decibels. The heat development also looks good, only the front with the logo gets relatively hot, and you also have to be careful on the sides in the lower area. The handle, on the other hand, remains cool, as does the recessed part behind it and as well as the display. The top of the device gets very warm at most, so we can be satisfied with the heat management. We have definitely seen much worse devices in this regard. In terms of workmanship, we have a good result overall for a device in the upper price range. The gaps are not quite perfect in a few places, but on the whole, all the parts have been put together fairly accurately. The handle and the opening mechanism make a solid and well-made impression, as do the plastic parts used. There are no major dents or ripples to be seen here. The brushed metal look of the front and the engraved Ninja emblem look very well made, and the display also appears to be well framed, with only a few protruding edges on the sides. And last but not least, the accessories also make a very good impression. Very solid in design, especially the grill plate, but that is exactly what we would expect at this point. When it comes to cleaning, you should first allow the appliance to cool down enough to handle it safely. After that, it's actually quite easy, because according to the manufacturer, all accessories are dishwasher-proof. The only exception to this is the roasting thermometer. The housing is best treated with a damp cloth. Let's come to the conclusion. The Ninja Foodi Max AG551 is a 2-in-1 appliance that combines a grill and an air fry function and belongs to the upper price range. The overall impression we were able to gain is clearly positive. There are only a few inconveniences. For example, the coarse presets and the lack of transportation handles, as well as a few small other flaws in terms of operation and handling. Generally, the appliance has been engineered well, though, so that you feel a bit bad about even mentioning these small drawbacks. The appliance is simply on point when it comes to the advertised grill and air fry functions and delivers good to very good cooking results. The same counts for the grill function. We would even go so far as to say that even a bad cook will be able to prepare a decent steak without any problems. And that's saying something. If you love steaks and grilled dishes but can't have a grill at home, the AG551 is definitely the right choice. And if you're also looking for a capable air fryer, well, you'll kill two birds with one stone. The only question is whether you are prepared to spend so much for such an appliance. So, we have tested this product for you. If you're interested, take a look at the description below the video. You can find all the links there. Otherwise, we'd be delighted if you'd stay tuned. Our end card will provide a few interesting video suggestions for you.